So my kids and I have this thing that we like to do where we go on Disney Plus, like if we're trying to find something to watch, and instead of finding something to watch, we just watch trailers forever. It doesn't matter if they're trailers for shows and movies that we've already seen or ones that are upcoming. Our favorites are the ones that like really pique our interest, and we will legitimately watch them over and over and over again. And it got me thinking, students look at the way we open lessons and units the same way that my kids and I look at trailers. The gateway activity is basically the trailer for what's to come in the classroom. And if it falls flat, that's the one that we're not going to finish, right? Like we're not going to finish watching that trailer. I have already lost most of our students before we even start.
Which is why we care so much about it. And so one of our very favorite strategies that we want to share with you right now is a gateway activity using picture books. Picture books are the perfect little intro to big concepts and themes. They're engaging in a way that's unexpected. Here's a fun fact. We have a whole lesson ready made for you and absolutely free to download that uses the book Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And we use it to introduce the genre of dystopia and all of the big ideas within it. So if you've ever been in the market for tricking and deceiving your students with something that's really engaging and fun, this is the lesson for you. Every single time we use Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs in the classroom, students are walking away intrigued. They're talking to each other. They're talking out the door about what happened in class. I mean, dreams really do come true. And they're thinking about what's coming the next day. All of these signs of a very successful gateway lesson.
And did we mention that the whole lesson is free? You can go and download it right now and come back to it whenever you are ready. Head to the show notes for this episode or go to shop.bravenewteaching.com/cloudy to download this lesson today. We can't wait to see how it works in your classroom. This episode is brought to you by Curriculum Rehab by us, the team here at Brave New Teaching. It is the first and only teacher PD of its kind, a course to help teachers like you by guiding you through creating your own personal framework for curriculum. You make it work for you, your students, and your unique situation because nobody else knows what the kiddos in your classroom need the way that you do. Curriculum Rehab takes all of the resources available to you, all of the lessons, the assessments, the activities, all of the texts, everything that could possibly be there for you, and it helps you organize what you actually need in order to attain your teaching objectives. These are the strategies that Amanda and myself have used in our own classrooms, have developed over very long years of teaching and figuring things out, combined together to create this framework and these strategies that we can guide you through. This course will give you the tools you need for a complete curriculum overhaul or to start from scratch. Wherever you are on that continuum, it does it all for you and with you on your timeline. So start today, do a little bit more in a couple of months, and then pick it up next summer. It's Teacher PD the way it should be on your own time. Head to curriculumrehab.com/course for more information, or just head to the show notes for this episode. We cannot wait to see you there. It's finally time to take control of what goes on in your own classroom and create the curriculum of your dreams. All right, let's get back into the show. Well, hello and welcome back to Brave New Teaching, and welcome to this week's BNT teacher team meeting. Friends, this is Marie. It's just me again this week. I told you last week it might be, and guess what? It is. And actually, I am coming to you from my very own classroom. I'm on my prep period, and actually, no, I'm not even on my prep period. Class is over. I didn't even notice that the bell had rang. So that's indicative of the day it's been. And I was going to wait until I got home to my fancy microphone and everything. And then I went, no, actually, this is front of mind. Let's chat about it right this second. I want to talk to you today about a couple of articles that have come across my feed, and I want to put them in front of you. Very likely we have similar algorithms, and they're probably coming across your feed as well. But then it was like one of those just kismet moments where then the, art imitated life, imitated media, whatever. And it was very much prevalent in conversation today. And that is screens and screen time in my classroom. And I'm sure as I'm saying this, you're like, yeah, that's legit all I've been talking about too, with AI and all sorts of different things. And if you're new around here, I am a high school English and drama teacher, and phones are a problem.
Chromebooks are a problem, and cheating with artificial intelligence is a huge problem. And that is something that I want to talk about today. Do I have all of the solutions? No, I don't. But I do have 18 and a half years of classroom experience. I'm also a mother of two, been doing that for, a solid 12 and a half years. And so I do know a thing or two about kids and kid brains. And yeah, let's get into it. But first, we're going to have to cue the music.
You're listening to Brave New Teaching, and we are so much more than a podcast.
We give teachers the inspiration, support, and tools to challenge the status quo.
I'm Amanda, and I'm a former English teacher from Illinois.
And I'm Marie, and I'm a high school teacher from Southern California.
Join us after the show and happy hour to extend your BNT experience with instant access to our resources, workshops, and courses.
Visit shop.bravenewteaching.com/happy hour to join us today. We're so glad you're here. Enjoy the show.
Okay, friends. So like I said before, this is like one of our new episodes of our new format of the show where we're just going to have weekly team meetings, and they're going to be kind of quick. Bring something across your desk that you might not otherwise have had time to see, or maybe you saw it, but you didn't get to dig in. So far, we've been looking at a few different articles, but I have other things in my pocket that I want to talk to you all about in the coming weeks. But today, I want to talk to you about a couple different articles having to do with screen time, specifically screen time in classrooms. I mean, phones are obviously always have been, frankly, since they became an issue or since they became something that students could have with them at school. They've been an issue with education. I remember my first year teaching. I started teaching in the fall of 2007, and we had at my school, I'm going to laugh while I say it because it's a goofy ass sounding rule, but it was called bag, tag, no nag. And it was this gimmicky rule surrounding cell phones. And well, at that point, sort of pagers, but mostly just cell phones. I don't think anybody had pagers unless they were trying to be on Grey's Anatomy. And if we even saw a phone, we would take it, put it in the specific bag, write out a tag, and the kid could not nag. And then they would have to have their parent or guardian pick it up from the front office after school or the next day. I did not bag, tag, nag, not a single phone. Why? Because I have a different philosophy about that, which has evolved over time. I'm sure if you're a longtime listener, you've heard me talk about it on the podcast, but I have seen the writing on the wall for a long time when it comes to devices in education. And this is before kids had their own laptops. It was, you saw Elle Woods open up a laptop in at Harvard, and that, or not even, wasn't it? Didn't she just have the big iMac? Doesn't matter. Everybody with laptops around her. That was a foreign concept, right? For high schoolers. So I just knew though that smartphones were just going to get more and more prevalent in daily life, in my own daily life and in the lives of my students. I knew that they were going to need to learn to navigate a world with technology at their fingertips rather than being denied that technology, because it's the age-old tale of whatever you get denied, whatever is forbidden, that fruit does taste the sweetest. So that's a philosophy and just kind of a way of being that I've always had in my classroom. I will say that it has ebbed and flowed with my permittance of devices. But now that we are in a post-2020 world and every kid in my district gets a district-issued Chromebook every 3 years, they have to turn them back and then they get a new one. I mean, it's done some amazing things, absolutely, for collaboration and for different types of work, but it has also done a lot of detrimental things to critical thinking, to work ethic and tenacity that I've at least seen evidence of in my classroom. And I mean both my English and my theater classroom. And I fight Minecraft on a daily basis, for attention. So all that is to say, here are the articles I wanted to tell you about. One is from October 30th of this year of 2025, and it is entitled What Kids Told Us About How to Get Them Off Their Phones. And it was originally published in The Atlantic by 3 different authors. One is Jonathan Haidt, who is the author of, The Anxious Generation, the New York Times bestseller. And then 2 other authors, Lenore Skenazy and Zach Roush. And it's about what do kids say about how to get them off of their phones. And, it's one of those things a lot of times these sorts of articles and these sorts of books feel blame-y. Like it talks about how kids aren't allowed to be out in public without an adult. And so that's why they don't know how to socialize or have friends. And I see where it's coming from. I do. I totally get it. As a child of the 80s and 90s, I also see that the world as we know it is not the same. Like we can't compare the world that our own kids are growing up in and that our students have been growing up in to the one that we did or the one that any previous generations did, because it's just not the same world. There was not cybercrime. There was not, right? Like trafficking and those sorts of things were just in a different realm completely. So I think that it's not fair to make the comparison between the way that children are raised now and the way that children used to be raised. And again, maybe this is just me feeling a certain kind of way, right? I'm clicking through a little bit to make sure I have my notes ready for you if you heard that little click. It says that the types of freedoms that children are asking for and longing for are the types of freedoms that we, the adults in their lives, are unwilling or afraid or whatever to permit. And that is unstructured play, like just going to a park and shooting hoops. It says shooting hoops is not something that I just say casually. That's definitely a quote. Exploring their neighborhood without supervision, but they are instead doing organized activities that are organized by adults, like Little League, like ballet, like rather than going and shooting hoops, they are playing, like league ball. And that is throughout the year. Oh, they're socializing online, because when we aren't able to, and this is again like the crux of this article, when we are not able, or for whatever reason, when we are not organizing our children's time, our students' time, they are also not organizing their time. They are instead going to a screen and allowing a screen, social media, and other types of video and screen entertainment keep them occupied. Do I think that I'm probably a little too sensitive about it? Yeah, I probably feel defensive. Like I hear myself and I feel it a little bit, but I also see that I think that this begs a larger conversation. And I really think that that's what this article was getting at, was it's trying to like start this conversation about our place as parents, our place as educators. Because I can tell you, if I allow unstructured time in my classroom, it's either going to be dead silent because students are on their phones or their computers, or it's going to be so rowdy because they really do need like training on how to do the middle, on how to just be and hang out with other people without the need for the internet and phones and that sort of thing. And I do have some ideas for us, but I want to talk to you about another article. I also really want to get the thoughts of you all on this phenomenon. Like, I live in the burbs. I have grown up in the burbs. I'm raising my children in a very safe place. I still, like, my neighborhood doesn't have sidewalks. So I'm not about to, and my parents live a mile away from me. I'm not about to let my 12-year-old walk to my parents' house, even though it's only a mile away, because it's an extremely busy street and there are no sidewalks. And that's just not something that I'm even fathoming. And so I don't know. Does that make me part of this problem? Does that make it? I don't know. But then I also teach high schoolers and I know what they are capable of. And I know that I ask a lot out of them. I give them a lot of responsibilities. I've also gone too far and given my students too much responsibility without enough scaffolding and like structure and support and like training them for those responsibilities, like in theater especially. But even like, an assignment that's just harder than they're ready for is, quite frankly, too much freedom and responsibility, and they need help to get there. I don't know. It's a dizzying dance. The other article I was looking at is entitled "The Screen That Ate Your Child's Education," and it was by Dr. Jean M. Twenge, who is a professor in sociology at San Diego State University, and she wrote it for The Times. Yes, it's an opinion for the New York Times. And it was published on November 16th of 2025. And the thing that I really love about Dr. Twenge, she wrote a book that was a, publication of her studies called Generation Me, that I think I have it behind me. I used it in my thesis I like wrote a play about generational divides as my thesis for grad school. And I used that quite heavily in my research. She has a lot of different publications, both full like books, and I highly recommend Generation Me. I also highly recommend this article, The Screen That Ate Your Child's Education, because she does a really, really good job of seeing as many different parts of the context as possible to get the conversation going. So that's another one that I would really recommend if this is something that you want to think a little bit more deeply about or like to gather your thoughts on. Truly, the impossible place that teachers and educators are in because of technology and because of the expectation to just stay at a breakneck pace and to stay up to date with everybody and everything, and all of the kids have to do all the things and all of the APs and all of the honors, but also all of the arts, but also like there's just so much and we have to move so quickly that if I had to collect handwritten work from all of my students every single day, I don't think we would keep up. Like, I just don't think it would happen. Not to mention, I also have increasing numbers. It used to be pretty few and far between that I would have an accommodation written to a child's documentation for like special ed documentation that they can type things. I have a handful in every class now that handwritten work is not to be required of a student. And so like, what do you do with that? And I'm teaching 17-year-olds. So I can only imagine those of you who are out there teaching 11-year-olds or younger who are not necessarily as emotionally equipped with the fairness, quote unquote, fairness of things, being like, well, why does little Timmy get to use their Chromebook, but I have to use a pen and paper, right? Like, how do you traverse that? I don't know. The other thing that is very much on my mind is the rise of students using AI and straight up cheating. And I talked about this last week, the like unwillingness to try for fear of failing or for fear of having to like try really hard. Effort is scary sometimes. And I feel like I have a lot of thoughts on that, but I'm sure you do too. Just today, I was like 5 minutes ago before I started recording, I had a student telling me like he was so surprised that ChatGPT and Google Gemini and a few other AI programs have now, as of like coming back from Thanksgiving break, because that's where we are right now, been blocked by our district. And he said, but Claude isn't. And it was myself and my like partner teacher. We were like, what the hell's Claude? Like, who's Claude? And he goes, oh, that's another AI that's actually like really good because it's harder to detect. And we were like, well, first of all, we'll be the judge of that. But secondly, yeah, of course it's not blocked because no one knows what it is because things are happening so fast. So like, if we just keep grasping at straws, like we're going to be, what's the kid with his finger in the dike, right? Like trying to stop the leak, and it's just not going to happen. There have to be other ways to think about these things. My partner teacher that I was talking about was grading essays, and out of the first class of 38 kids, 8 of them had academic honesty referrals for AI that she had to write. Like, and because it was like, no question. You're looking at it going, well, that's written by a computer. 8 of them. It's concerning. I have some different ways that I get around AI in my classroom, or that I try to discourage AI just by making it less convenient, because we're doing so much handwritten and so much in the process. But like, not every piece is processed. Not every, I don't know. And it's not just writing. Like it's responses for prepping for a Socratic seminar where you're just literally supposed to answer the question with your own thoughts. And I'm going, that is not your thoughts, kiddo, because you don't have emojis in your thoughts. And those emojis came from ChatGPT. It's just, there's a lot there. But as always, in these team meeting episodes, I'm going to bring you some ideas that I am going to be using in my classroom and that you can use in your classroom in the week ahead. You know, like head off to the weekend, head off to Friday, head off to the weekend, and just kind of let these things like bounce around and see where you can fit them in. At this moment, I don't have a whole lot of, I mean, I do, but nothing that's like plug and play for next week that can take care of getting us off of our screens other than just taking screen breaks. And these screen breaks can be anywhere from 2 minutes to 20, just depending on what you want to get done. One of my favorite things to do with my students, I started it last year, is to help get them a little bit of a break and that kind of training in how to be social with each other, like I was talking about earlier in this episode, is decks of cards. I got a cheap pack of 12 decks of cards off of probably Amazon. Sorry. And I've taught them different card games. I taught them the card game BS. It's a great one because you have to pay attention. Go Fish is a pretty good one because you have to pay attention. Speed is a fun one. But just a quick 10 minutes with cards. All phones are put away. All computer, like the tables are totally cleared off. It's a great way just to have a little brain break. Some others are board games. If you have I'm trying to accumulate, I have 10 tables in here and I want to accumulate 10 sets of Jenga, or 10 sets of Jenga and Connect 4 or something like that, so that we can have tactile games for no reason other than just to play a game and talk to each other. Like, that's it. They don't even have to talk, but they need to put their phones away, right? Like, that's what I'm going for here, is that training in how to just be without escaping into a screen or hiding into a screen. I'm also next week going to be doing some read alouds with picture books. I like to use read alouds a little bit sparingly so that they're a bit more novel. But I do think, especially as we have these few weeks between, in the States, we are between Thanksgiving break and winter break. And if you are somewhere in breaks like we are, we know that December gets real weird. Kids get weird. I get super weird. If you've been on a freeway in December, stuff gets real dodgy. And so read alouds are a great way to just change the pace. If you have room in your classroom, I highly, highly suggest that you say, all right, kids, even if they're 18 years old, come on down to the floor. We're having a read aloud, like kindergarten style. Another game that I love, and this one I'll have to make a reel about it. It's called Telephone Pictionary, and I guarantee some of you have played it before. But basically, you sit kids in a group, at least 5 kids in a group, but the bigger the better, 5 to 10 kids, I would say. And each of them has as many little squares of paper as there are people in their group. So you can do a much larger group if you want to. But basically, what happens is you somehow have them start a story. They write down once upon a time or, whatever for the beginning of a story. And then they pass their little pile of papers stacked on top of each other to the right or to wherever. The pile of papers that you receive, you read the sentence, you take that paper and you put it to the back and you draw a picture on the next paper of what you read. Then you pass the picture and then I get a picture and now I have to put that on the bottom and write a sentence of what the picture was. And then it goes all the way through, right? Picture, sentence, and it's Pictionary telephone or telephone Pictionary. And then at the end, they get to see where it went off the rails and what worked. And it's fun. It's fun and it's silly and it can take, 5 minutes and just have a little bit of a break. That is, again, structured. It's not super energy sucking for me as a teacher. And it's something that I get to watch kids have fun, which is one of the best parts of this job is, watching kids get a little bit delighted. Yeah. So those are some ideas, some screen breaks, playing cards, board games, or, just tactile games like Jenga, and read alouds, and Telephone Pictionary is a really fun game. Like I said, I'll make a little reel about that one because it's fun to play. Those are the things that I would suggest in this next week. Even if you have a really tight schedule, I think that it'll make the rest of the class go better, frankly. I am going to be doing that because I'm saying it now, which means I'll actually do it. So come to Instagram and yell at me and make sure I actually did it, and then we can talk about it. Yeah. Other than that, quick little catch up on what's going on in my classroom. This week, we have been back from Thanksgiving break. We had Thanksgiving off that whole week last week. And I was, like I told you before, moving back into my house. And I am pooped. I am so tired. We have a show this week. It is a variety show, which I also talked to you about last week. And it's great. It's a lot. So I'm already taking notes so that next year I have kids much more at the forefront of this show because it is a very fun, family-friendly, community-centered variety show. But because this is the third year that we've been doing it. Like I used to do it years and years ago before I was a mother of two. And this is the third year that we've done it. And it's just, I'm still training not just my students, but also our community to know what to do with something like that. So we're getting there. It's gaining its own steam. It's just more muscling it through than I would care for at this level of exhaustion. So I'm running on like those Hershey like nugget chocolates and Diet Coke at the moment. But my ulcer hasn't acted up yet, so I guess I'm going to be okay. Anyways, next week, we'll see if it's me and Amanda, or if it is just me, or if it is just Amanda. We just like to keep you on your toes here, friends. But I just want to say thank you for joining our little team meeting today. If there are things that you would like us to bring up in our teacher team meeting, please send them our way. Send them to us on Instagram, email them to us at bravenewteaching at gmail.com. Go to bravenewteaching.com and leave us a voicemail if there's something that you would like to look at or talk about. It doesn't have to be an article. I just have found them. Oh, and if you want links to the articles, we'll put them in the show notes. But yeah, it's a wild world. And by the time you're listening to this, we have 2 weeks and change before winter break, at least in my neck of the woods. So hopefully you're in the same place as me, or you have even less school before a big break because we need it. All right, friends, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Thanks again for listening to Brave New Teaching.
We'd love to keep the conversation going over on Instagram.
And while you're there, check out the links in our bio for the most up-to-date events going on in Happy Hour and the Brave New Teaching community.
Thanks for being here, and have a great week at school.